Good morning. Welcome in RNQNS classes, chapter number 16, Establishment of British Rule in India till 1857. Before the beginning of the formal rule of Britishers in India, there was a background of Indo-European economic relationship. The British East India Company, sometimes referred to as Joint Company, was a joint stock company established in 1600 as the Company of Merchants of London, trading into the East Indias. During this time, other trading companies establishment by Portuguese, Dutch, French, and Danish were similarly expanding in the region. The British Company gained footing in India in 1612 after Mughal Emperor Jahangir granted the rights to establish a trading post in Surat to Sir Thomas Roy, a representative diplomat of Queen Elizabeth I England. The former British rule in India under Bengal surrendered his dominion to the British East India Company. Henceforth, the British Company transformed from commercial trading venture to a political entry which virtually ruled India. Now, it required auxiliary government and military function until its dissolution in 1858, when consequent to the Government of India Act 1858, the British government assumed the task of directly administrating India. Objectives. After studying this lesson, you will be able to learn the European commercial and political stake in India, the reason for the conflict between the English and the French in India in the 18th century. Know the growth of British power in Bengal, understand the expansion of British power in India, gain knowledge about the subsidiary alliances concluded by Lord Wellesley, know how the policy of doctrine of lapse introduced by Lord Dalhousie lead to the expansion of British power in India. A new phase in Europe, a new phase in Europe, European Eastern trade with Asia. Even after securing the control over the trade routes during the 16th 17th century, the Europeans didn't solve the basic pattern which had long dominated trade between India and West. Indian goods were in far greater demand in European than were European goods in India. Merchant might profit had somely through the sale of Indian goods, which were of both better quality and lesser price than India, as well as stiff competition for European producers who were unable to match either the price or quality of Indian goods. In fact, the British East India Company and the first 15 years of existence had no interest in the development of colonies, preferred to engage in trade only following the pattern set by Portuguese. This pattern was changed by 1650 when the power of the old Grand British royalty merchants was broken, and uh, a new class of merchant wrested control in the company. They followed the pattern set by the colonial merchant in American colony and West Indies and sought to establish a network of colonies linking England, Africa, and India in a complicated network of exchange relationships. The Mughal Empire declined in the first half of the 18th century. The political vacuum was filled in the by the rise of regional states like Bengal, Hyderabad, Awadh, Punjab, and Maratha kingdoms. But these regional power couldn't provide lasting political stability, resulting into the lustful chance for the British East India Company to establish a territorial empire in India. Now, a set of institutions and regulations were required to rule India through colonial mercantilism. They adopted this method to expand the British Empire. They were first is wars and concrete subsidiary alliances system, and third is allocations of territory through the adaptation of doctrine of lapse. Initial method was outright military conquest and or direct annexions of territory. It was these areas that were properly called British India. Later on, the consolidate in its position diplomatic efforts through treaties and argument and agreements with indigenous rulers were also made. Anglo-French struggle in South India. By the beginning of the 18th century, only two European trading companies of the British and French were left in India, competing for the Indian resources. The Anglo-French rivalry taking the form of these Granitic Wars constitution a landmark in the history of British conquest of the South India in the 18th century. In order to establish their supremacy, it was necessary for the English East India Company to eliminate the French from this region. As a result of 7 years for war, 1756 to 1763, in European, the French and English settlements in India had become involved in open hostilities. In the Third Carnatic War, the British East India Company defeated the French forces at the Battle of Vandy, was ending almost a century of conflict over supremacy in India. This battle gave British trading company a superior position in India compared to the other European. The French were defeated by Sir Irakote at Bandiwash in January 1760, and Pondicherry capitulated a year later. The work of Dupleix and Busy in the south was thus destroyed in 1760 to 1761. The French conflict was resolved in the last English East India Company favor because of its strong navy in India, its progressively increased military strength and good leadership, the support they received from the government in England, and the larger resources and its command in Bengal. Apart from the fallout of the events in the Carnatical cycle of the war, that the weakness of the Indian regional power in the part armies of the some of the power against smaller European forces become uh, manifest, and this had gave implications in the political history of the rest of the 18th century. British occupation of Bengal, uh, Plassey to Buxar, Buxar, 1757 to 1765. The first major conflict of the British against an Indian power was Bengal. The history of Bengal from 1757 to 65 is the history of gradual transfer of the power from the Nawabs to the British. During this short period of 8 years, three Nawabs, Syed Daulah, Mir Jafar, and Mir Qasim, ruled over Bengal, but they failed to uphold the sovereignty of the Nawab, and ultimately the resign of control passed on into the hands of the British. The British, unable to compete with the Asian merchant in business, resorted to force taking control of Bengal in 1757 under the pretext of Plassey revolt. The result was that the British achieved victory in Bengal for their use of force, lead to the decline of the very trade they so longed to control. By the time Siraj-ud-Daulah succeeded Ali Wardi Khan as Nawab of Bengal in 1756, trade provinces and Their misuse by the company and its officer had already become an issue of conflict. There was a privilege which had been guaranteed to the company for its export and import trade by the Mughal Emperor Farrukhsir. According to this imperial formula, the company had to pay three company had to pay 3,000 a year, and Britain could carry on trade duty free in Bengal. The company servants extended this privilege to their own coastal trade, inter-Asian trade, and finally the inland trade. This was an obvious usurpations. Certain other factors like the fortifications around Calcutta without the permission of the Nawab and repeated defiances of the Nawab authority, along this along with sheltering the offenders of the Nawab were the acts on the part of English company which provoked the Nawab. The company officials also suspected that Nawab was going to have an alliances with the French in Bengal. Siraz ud Daulat attack on Calcutta precipitating in an open conflict. The British retaliation started with the hatching conspiracy against the Nawab in alliances with his offices like Rai Darlab, uh, Ami Chand, uh, Mir Jafar, and Jagat Sasso. English victory in the Battle of Plassey, 23rd June 1757, that helped the English in beginning the battle. Mir Jafar, the commander-in-chief of Mir Zafar, responded by paying a sum of rupees 1 crore and 77,000 77 lakh to the company, and sums to the company large sum to the company officers large sums of company officers breach, but also suspicion about his collaboration with the Dutch trading company. Mir Jafar, who was made Nawab after the Battle of Plassey, was deposed in 1760. Mir Qasim was placed on the throne by the British in the hope that he would be able to meet their financially demand. The new Nawab assigned to them the district of Burdavan, uh, Midnav, and Chittagong for the expenses of the British army, which was to help him. This alliance was of great help of the British in their campaign against the French in 1760 to 61. The money paid by Mir Qasim helped the Calcutta council to finance there was in South. The Nawab succeeded in establishing a better system of administration, but he came into conflict with the British Bengal on question of privilege, duty-free private trade, and company. Mir Qasim proposed plan about equal trade duties for British and Indian traders was turned down by British Council at Calcutta. Mir Qasim, in the circumstances, remitted all duties on Indian Indians and the British alike for 2 years. This measure deprived the British private traders of the privileged position they had created for themselves. Uh, they had created they have couldn't. The British and the circumstances reminded all duties on Indians, and the British aligned for 2 years. The measure deprived the British private trader of the privileged position they had created for themselves. They couldn't complete the Indian traders on equal terms. The Nawab attempts to reorganize the army and shifting of capital from Murshidabad to Mongier were also taken an unforgivable offenses of the company. In June 1763, under Major Adam, British army defeated Mir Qasim, the Nawab of Bengal. Mir Qasim fled to Patna and took help from Emperor Shah Alam II and Sujauddaulah, who was Nawab of Awadh and also the Wazir of the Mughal Empire. Matters came to heat when the chief of the company factory at Patna tried to resize the city. This precipitation was war. Mir Qasim, an excellent civil administrator, was no military leader. His army was defeated when he was forced to withdraw to Awadh. The Nawab Wazir and Emperor Shah Alam II decided to come to the defense. Shah Alam come to defense and Saddam to come to defense. Patna tried to resize city. The precipitated war. Mir Qasim, an excellent civil administration, was no military leader. His army was defeated when was forced to withdraw to Awadh. The Nawab Wazir and Emperor Shah II decided to come to the defense of the eastern Shubhas of the empire. Uh, the Contaminants advanced to Patna and a battle was fought at uh, Buxar on October 22, 1764. The decisive victory at Buxar and the British army overcome Awadh. The Nawab Wazir fled to the Rohilla country, but Shah Alam II came to terms with British. Lord Clive, then British governor in Calcutta, also concluded treaty of Allahabad with the Shujauddaulah Nawab Wazir of Awadh, who was to pay 50 lakh of rupees for the expansion of the war and was given back of dominations. He entered into defensive alliances with the company Awadh, become for the British at buffer state. Shah Alam II was now a fugitive. Delhi had now fallen into the hands of the Rohilla chief Nazib Uddaulah. The British gave Emperor Shah Alam II possession of Kara and Allahabad, while he granted them the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa in return for a regular annual payment of 26 lakh of rupees. The dual system of administration of Bengal. The early mechanism of the establishment of company rule in Bengal followed the administrative system under the Mughals. The Mughals' provincial administration had two main heads, Nizamat and Diwani. Broadly speaking, in Nizamat means in new administration and civil justice. The provincial Subadar was in a charge of Nizamat. He was also called Nazim, and the Diwan was in charge of revenue was made the Diwan of Bengal. But Lord Clive chose not to take over the administration of Bengal directly. This responsibility was left to the Nawab Nab Diwan and Nab Nazim Muhammad Raza Khan. As Nazib, he was represent the Nawab, and a Nab Diwan, he was to represent the company. Thus, the Nawab had to handle the entire responsibility for city and criminal justice was replaced under the superintendent direction and control the British company as the Diwan. The company directly collected its revenue while through this right to nominate the deputy Nazim, it controlled the Nizamat or the police of judicial power. This arrangement is known as dual or double government. Under this system, British had power and resources without responsibility, while the Nawab had responsibility of the administration without power to discharge it. Thus, the Nawab had to take all responsibility for had governments. The revenue remained the sole earning of the company in lieu of lieu of meager annual payment to the Mughal emperor. Ideology of expansion tools and methods. Shifting in the rule from trading corporation, the English East India Company gradually became supreme political power in India. There were other regional kingdoms which were conquered by the British. Hyder Ali and soon Tipu Sultan, the legendary rulers of Mysore in Carnatic modern day Indian state of Karnataka, gave a tough time to the British forces in the second half of the 18th century of the state in 1761. Until his defeat by Sir Eyre Cote in 1781, Hyder Ali continued his struggle against the company. Mysore finally fell the company forces on 1799 with the slaying of Tipu Sultan in 1799 with the gradual weakening of the Maratha Empire in aftermath of the three Anglo-Maratha was fought during 1772 to 1818. The British also secured the Maratha territories. It was during these companies, both against Mysore and Maratha, that under the command of uh, Arthur Wellesley, the British had secured the entire region of southern India, the exceptions of small enclaves of French and local rulers, western India and eastern India. The second method was the use of subsidiary agreements sanad between the British and the local rulers. This development of created what came to be called the duty of Lord Wellesley in and after 1798. The British under the subsidiary alliance system agreed to protect the Indian rulers against external threats and internal disorder, but in return, the Indian ruler was accepted in the subsidiary alliance system were to agree to the stationery of British contingent for whose maintenance they would pay a subsidy to the British. The ruler under the system of alliances could neither enter into alliance with any other power for fight a war without prior permissions from the British. A British resident was stationed at this ruling state that had the authority to infer in state politics. This system was suited best to the advantage of British as, without even spending a single penny, the British were able to maintain large forces. Moreover, the system enabled the English to feed out of the forever influences from the Indian courts. The Nazim of Hyderabad was first to enter into subsidiary alliances with the English in 1798. He was forced to replace the French officers from his court and put English officers in their place. He also granted the territories of Billari uh, and Kuduppa to British for the maintenance of the army. The subsidiary alliances created the princely state of native state and the Maharaja and the Nawabs, prominent among which were Cochin 1791, Jaipur 1794, Travancore 1795, Hyderabad 1798, and Mysore 1799. The the annexed region include the northwestern provinces comprising Rohilkhand, Gorakhpur, and the Doab 1801, Delhi 1803, and Sindh 1843, Punjab, Northwest frontier provinces under the Treaty of Amritsar 1850, to the Durga dynasty of Jammu, and that thereby become a princely state in 1854. Birar was annexed and the state of oath 2 years later. The main purpose of the subsidiary alliance system was to expand the British Empire in India. by bringing new territory under its control and to decrease the French influence so that the British could become the paramount power in India. Punjab remained the last uh, Indian state to be conquered by the British in 1849. It was under the rule of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who had united the various Sikh mices into one state. He had established a modern administrative system. His army was his army was the second largest modernization regular army in Asia after the British Army. The East India Company maintained friendly relations with Ranjit Singh, but just within one decade of his death in 1839, two Anglo-Sikh wars were fought, and in 1849, Punjab also became part of British India. The doctrine of lapse was the election policy devised by Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General of India between 1848 and 1856. There was a widespread custom of adoption among the Indian kings to secure and their in the absence of natural successors son. But as per the doctrine of lapse, any Indian state created by or under the direct influence paramount of the British East India Company as a vassal state under the British subsidiary system would automatically lapse as an annexed by the British if the ruler was either complimented or died without a natural male here. Thus, not only the long establishment right to of an Indian sovereigns without an heir to choose successor was taken over, but the British also took over the authority of deciding the competence of the Indian rulers. With the introduction of the policy of lapse, the company could establish absolute imperial administration control over many regions spread over the subcontinent. The company took over the princely state of Satara, Jatpur, Sambalpur, Nagpur, and Jhansi using the doctrine. Often the elections such as that Awadh Odd in 1856 was justified on ground that the native prince was the evil disposition indifferent to the welfare of his subjects. Growth of colonial administrative uh, apprentice. The need of constitution change across after the East India Company became the political power in 1757. The British government was no longer willing to allow company affair to continue unsupervised. Uh, Pressure from merchant and manufacturer to end of the monopoly of the company mounted. Public opinion was critical of corruption in the government in Bengal. Free enterprises was a major demand. The British Parliament enacted a series of laws, among which the Regulating Act of 1773 stood first to curb the company traders' unrestricted commercial activities and to bring about some under in territory under the company control, limiting the company charter to period of 20 years subject to review upon renewal. The act gave the British government supremacy rights over the Bengal, Bombay, and Madras presidency. The Regulating Act also created an unified administration for India, uniting the three presidency under the authority of the Bengal government, uh, who was elevated to the new position of Governor General. Warren Hastings was the first. Uh, Warren Hastings Warren Hastings was first first increment government general 1773 to 1785. The Petty India Act of 1784, sometimes described as the half-loop system, as it sought to mediate between parliament and the company directors, enhance the parliament control by establishment the board of control whose members were selected from the British cabinet as governor general from 1786 to 1793. Lord Cornwallis uh, professionalized, uh, bureaucrat, uh, bureaucratized, and Europeanized the company administration. He also outlaid private trade by company employee, separated the commercial and administration functions, and enhanced the salary of company servants. As the revenue collection became the company most essential administration, uh, Lord Cornwallis granted legal ownership of land to the Jamindar in Bengal. In return, Jamindar had to pay the government fixed revenue by a certain particular date. This arrangement was to last forever. Hence, the title permanent settlement was given. The system was also known as Zamindari system. The immediate consequence was that now Jamindar became a owner of the land. The peasant was reduced to the status of the tenant on land. Moreover, now land became a negotiable property, and the static was excluded from agriculture expansion and development, which came under the purview of the Jamindar in Madras and Bombay. However, the Rohadwari peasant settlement system was set in motion, in which peasant cultivator had to pay annual taxes directly to the government. The 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 Character Act of 1813 ended by the monopoly of the company over trade with India. The company's control over revenue administration and appointment remained untouched. The Character Act of 1833 abolished the company monopoly of the China trade. The act also deprived the presidency of the power to make laws, concentrating legislative power with the governor general and his council. With such expansion of the British territories and increasing administrative responsibility, a bureaucracy also required to control British uh, possessions. In a 1785, Lord Cornwallis created professionally a cadre of company servants who had generous salaries, had no private trading or production interest in India, enjoyed the prospect of regular promotion, and were entitled to pensions. All high level posts were reserved for the British, and Indians were excluded. Cornwallis appointed British judges and established British officially as revenue collectors and magistrate in each district of Bengal. From 1806, the company trained in its youth, recruited in Haileybury College near London. Appointments were still organized on system of patronage. In 1829, the system was strengthened by established district through British India, small enough to effectively controlled by an individual British official whose henceforth exercise a completely uh, autocratic power, acting as a revenue collector, judge, and chief of police. After 1833, the company select amongst its nominated candidates by a competitive examination. After 1853 selection in entire or merit, and the examination was through open to British candidate. The Indian civil services was very highly paid. It enjoyed political power which no bureaucrat could have had in England. judicial organization. By the mid 18th century, the British had a political presence in the three presidency towns of Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta, which also saw the emergence of British judicial system in India. The Mayor Court was established in 1727 for civil litigations in Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. In 1772, an elaborate judicial system known as Adalat established civil and criminal jurisdicted, and to add the preceding judges in incorruptible their customary laws, but the general British common and statutory laws become applicable. The two main the notation of the rule of law and equality before the law. Thus, as theory to one was above the law, a certain rules which define the right, privilege, and obligation of the people and all the citizens, irrespective of their caste, class, and other status, were now equal before law. The principle of habeas corpus provided that no person could be arrested or kept in prison without a written order from the local executions or the judicial authority. Even the government servant, if the acts done in their officially capacity, could be sued in the court of law. The natural upshoots of the rule of the law was equality before the law, which subsequently followed. The rule was law. The equality before the law appeared as a novel feature in the caste-ridden Indian society. Under the Regulating Act of 1773, the King in Council created a Supreme Court in the Presidency town of Calcutta. Under the character, the Supreme Court also had the authority to exercise all types of judicial in region Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa, with the only caveat that in situation when the disputed amount was in excess of rupees 4,000, their judgments could be appealed to the Privy Council at London. The Supreme Court in Madras and Bombay were finally established in 1801 and 1823 respectively. Lord Lord Cornwallis super Lord Cornwallis separated the executive and judicial duties at district level. For the civil cases, Sadar Diwani Adalat was the highest appealing body, followed by the four provincial courts of civil appeal of at Calcutta, Dhaka, Murshidabad of and Patna. Then at a local level, district court, registered court, and a number of subordinate courts were making the hierarchy. A large number of magistrates were active to deal with criminal cases. Among them were four courts of circuit at Calcutta, Dhaka, Murshidabad, and Patna, which were governed by Sadar Nizamat Adalat at Calcutta. In 1831, William Bentinck abolished the four provincial civil and criminal court and redistributed their work to, commission and district collector. So, to conclude, the British rule over India changed the course of history. In India, the British came to India the beginning of the 17th century. The British East India was established with the aim of having monopoly over Asian trade. In the process of gaining trading rights in India, the British annexed many Indian princely state and formed laws and policy of their own. Slowly but rapidly, the entire Indian subcontinent came under the British rule. However, its policy were disliked by Indian, and together they revolted against the company in 1857. This led to the downfall of the company, and administration of Indian went directly under the Queen by the Government of India Act of 1858. The direct rule of the British crown was finally established in place of company rule. What you have learned? You have learned about the establishment of rule domination of the British East India Company on the Indian subcontinent. You have seen how British rule commenced in 1757 after the Battle of Plassey, when the Nawab of Bengal surrendered his uh, domination to the company. In 1765, when the company was granted the Diwani, or the right to collect revenue in Bengal and Bihar, or in 1772, when the company established a capital in Calcutta, appointed in its first Governor General Warren Hastings, and become directly involved governor. This process continue in the other parts of India as well. The establishment and expansion of British power used for mechanism of the subsidiary alliances system, and the expansion policy of Dalhousie through the doctrine of lapse. The lesson of narrates the British administration and judicial organization in India before 1858. The East India Company ruled lasted until 1858, when consequent to the Government of India Act 1858, the British government assumed the task of directly administrating India.